and they are excellent.
Oh, Sarah,
really,
thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm happy that you took them over. We've been trying to get them in the libraries, but as you know, it's a very delicate subject. Even when I lecture all over, and even when I lecture at schools, they have to send out a permission slip because we're going to talk to the kids about this stuff, and parents are very, very wishy-washy about, discussing it. And so it's been a hard road. And if you followed me and that I'm always pounding the pavement. I'm always looking for an angle to get them out there. So it really is. I so appreciate you doing that for me. I really do.
Well, you're very welcome. And like I said, I hope it takes off. And I did approach the librarian with the fact that this was a sensitive, delicate subject, but it was very, very important. And so she was open to it.
Well, that's great. That's all you can ask for,
Good. So now I have to talk about Erin Andrews just for a little bit.
Okay.
Yes, I am sure that she went through every single emotion that anybody would that had that happen to them. And I just, like you had mentioned, I am so curious if Marriott reached out and said, okay, we're going to settle for $10 million or whatever, because I know that she went through the criminal trial for that man that was serving time, and that must have been excruciatingly difficult. So I would be very, very shocked if they did offer her something and she said no, because then I have to say to myself, well, how psychologically and emotionally damaged is she? If she really wants to go through this trial, and a lot of it is televised. HLN covers some of the testimony. So I'm very mixed, and I know probably it was her lawyers that came up with $75 million. I mean, I don't know if they asked their plaintiff, like, well, what do you want? I mean, I really don't know how that works.
The lawyers make the decision, yeah.
But and another thing, I did watch a little bit of her testimony, and she, cried when they asked her certain things, and then she didn't cry, and so she looked like she was going through the gambit of all the emotions. I was very surprised because I did not know this. When she was crying and she was talking about CBS and Fox had aired the video, even though they put bars on her body parts, she was, she was crying and she was so upset. And then I learned that she is, after that happened, a Fox network employee.
Yeah.
So that, right away, I thought, if I was on the jury, I just, wait a minute, I would just have a problem. But whoever was cross-examining her did not even touch that, because I would have had a field day with that. So I think it's very, very difficult to, I think the word is quantify psychological damage. Because
that's exactly right. Because you don't. It's emotional. There's no doubt, like we were saying, there's no doubt she's emotionally damaged. You couldn't come to something like that.
But how do you quantify it to $75 million?
That's going to be the huge issue, and especially like I said, she didn't take the stand and say, I cannot leave my house. I cannot do it. I mean, she has really thrived. Not as a result of that. I don't think it's because people said, oh, I saw her and she looks great on the tape and I'm going to use her. But
it was in spite of it.
Exactly. And she's talented. I mean, she's done Dancing with the Stars. She's just did a fantasy football thing. So the cross-examination that I was watching on that part was, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this. Mm-hmm. And what that lawyer is trying to hammer home to this jury is, look, she's damaged, but you think she's damaged $75 million when she's making all this money in return? It's difficult. It's a difficult case. But people, like what you're saying, Sarah, I think people on the jury are probably feeling the same exact way you are, and that's why it's going to be very interesting to see what this verdict is.
And plus, it's not like she's been going to psychotherapy for all these years and still has never, finished. She went to a counselor a few times. So anyway, I just think, why are you going through this trial? I would just be so shocked if Marriott didn't say, here's some money, go ahead, goodbye. Okay, the other thing is, because I know you have other callers, I have the biggest problem in our judicial system with intent when it comes to murdering children. And I know that a lot of times when these people are brought to trial, a lot of times it's second-degree murder or it's manslaughter or it's felony child abuse because of this whole intent thing.
Mm-hmm.
So how could that be changed? Does that have to be changed, obviously, on a state-by-state basis, right? Because I personally think it should be a federal crime if you kill a child. That's all there is to it. But I think that all these people get off with so many what I call light sentences is because of this whole thing about forming intent and proving premeditation. Do you agree, or do you think?
Yeah, and the thing is that any time anyone feels very strongly about the laws, that's when they have to go to their legislatures, because as prosecutors, we have to abide by what the state statute is, and we're told, we are basically mandated by the legislature in our statute, by the jury instructions, what elements of the crimes we have to prove. And so lots of times when I'm picking a jury, I have to often say to the jurors, even if you don't like the law, can you follow it? Because people like you, very much so, disagree with the law, but that you still have to follow it. So if people have a problem with it, that's when you have to write to your legislature, and that's when things get changed. Prosecutors should have to abide by what that state law is, and that those, your lawmakers, that's why they're called lawmakers. Your Congress are the ones that make that decision.
But I just think it must be so frustrating for you when you have to follow these laws, and do you just agree with me that anyone that, does these horrible, horrible things to a child, honestly, I just don't think intent should be part of it. You did it, and you have to be punished for it, period.
Yeah, well, talk to your lawmakers. What can I tell you?
I'm going to. I'm going to talk to my lawmakers. All right. Well, thank you very much for taking
you,
my call.
Thank you for taking my books. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Stacey. You take care. Bye-bye.
You too.
Okay. Good night, Sarah. Let's say hello to Mary. She's calling from Virginia. Hi, Mary. You're live with us, Stacey Honowitz. Good evening. How are you?
Hi. Good evening, Dean.
Good evening.
And Stacey, you've got the prettiest smile of all the attorneys that I know.
Thank you. My orthodontist will love you.
Oh my gosh, you have the beautiful smile, and I applaud you on your work for fighting for children, because that is a big cause for me. I am always on Twitter advocating against child abuse. I have a different handle on Twitter. You may know me as Love to Swim, 1951.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've tweeted your books, which are excellent. I've also shared them with Arc of Hope and some of the child abuse community that advocate against sex trafficking of children and things like that. And it's just horrendous. And my good friend Sarah, who was just there before me, we think a lot alike, and we think that the law as it stands right now is so weak for children that are abused in any way, sexually, whatever, and murdered. It just seems like if a child is murdered, especially by a parent, it goes for manslaughter or felony child abuse instead of being called murder, which is what it was. It was murder, and sometimes it's horrific murder, as you know, with cruelty and, torture. I think in a couple of cases they have tried those as a first-degree murder when those two elements are involved. And I've had a petition on Twitter for a long time on change.org for making the murder of a child, where appropriate, a federal crime, so that it's all uniform throughout all the different states. If you kill a child, you better know what's coming, because they are the least protected of all the classes in the world, as the children are. They're innocent and they can't speak for themselves, and they deserve the right to live.
Look, I don't think anybody would disagree with anything that you have to say. So you're preaching to the choir, if you know that term.
I know.
Everything you're saying is correct. So it's a matter of, anytime you need to, there's always a grassroots effort to try to change things. I'm happy that you're trying. You just got to continue like I do.
I've gotten like 4,000 signatures, but I need like 100,000. I'm willing to go to Congress. I'm willing to lobby for that, but I need the signatures to a significant amount of signatures to make it count. But what really gets me is how people, the apathy when it comes to a child, everyone says, oh, that's horrible, oh, this and that, but no one does anything about it.
Well, you're telling someone who I tried all these child molestation cases, and there's plenty of times when juries come back not guilty. They scream, why someone touching a kid. So, listen, I've seen I've been doing this for a very long time, as you know, because you follow me on Facebook also, don't you?
Yes, I have my own trial group. Yes, Facebook trial group also.
Yes, so you know that I post my stuff. I post my cases and what I do, and it's very frustrating. It's very difficult, and like I said, you gotta just keep on top of it and just hope that one day the message gets through. I mean, I've been doing this for a really long time.
I know.
When I first wrote those books, people, you can't even imagine the amount of rejection that I get. When I had to write, people asked me to write articles. And a victims' rights group asked me to write an article, and I wrote the article, and they took out the book Genius with a Penis because they wouldn't mention penis in the article.
Yeah.
So I get censored even. So I appreciate everything that you're doing. Keep doing it, and thank you for tweeting my stuff and for trying to seek justice for a lot of things. Just keep on top of it.
God bless you for what you're doing, and I know how frustrating it must be for you on a day-to-day basis, to put your heart into all this and then end up with not the right result that you're looking for. So God bless you for that, and it was really nice.
Thank you, Mary. It was nice to speak with you finally.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Mary.
Take care.
Okay, and Stacey, let me ask you, as a veteran prosecutor that you are, was there ever a case that you were 95% sure that you had in the bag in all of your career that you wound up losing, and you're really surprised by it? Is there ever one that comes to mind?
Jordan, you know what? I've been doing this for so long. I'm sure there has been. I'm sure at one time there's
good thing that's hard for you to remember.
You never know what a jury's going to do, and that's why we never tell victims when they come into the office. I will never, ever, ever say to a victim, I have a locked case. It's going to be 100% guilty. Because there have been people in my office with confessions and DNA, and the jury's come back not guilty. So I'm sure I've had a case where I thought the child did very well on the stand. I thought I had good evidence, and the jury came back not guilty. But there's been so many over the years that I can't pinpoint one. But listen, I certainly don't have a 100% conviction rate. I wish I could go on the air and tell you that. So there's always that one that you do. I had one case which didn't involve a child. It was a rape case. It involved an adult, which I actually really thought I had in the bag. And the guy was on tape screaming, whatever, and they didn't come back a full not guilty, but they came back on a lesser charge, which is very, very surprising to me. But listen, we keep going, we keep fighting the fight, and I have a good unit that I work with, and like I said, the best thing that has come out of something is that movie winning the award that really brought things to the forefront, because before nobody really wanted to talk about it, and now maybe this will really. You've always wanted to discuss it, but this will really start a discussion.
Yeah, if you just type in some of the YouTubes, there's a lot of people that have these vlogs, I guess they call them. And, I was watching one. I don't know if you've ever seen any, and they talk about it, and by the time it's like 3 minutes into the video, it's so heartbreaking, to see these victims talk about this stuff.
It's horrible. All right, Jordan, I have to wrap it up.
Thanks, Stacey, so much for joining us.
Okay. It was my pleasure, as usual. Thank you so much again for having me, and thanks, ladies, for calling in, and we'll chat soon.
absolutely enjoy sunny Florida. We'll speak to you soon, Stacey.